Welcome back to the Gives in the Bank Recruiting Podcast, brought to you by BuckeyeScoop.com. I'm Mark Givler, joined by Bill Green. We are rolling along here on our top 100. We are at number 40 now. We're going to do 40 through 31 today. We are getting razor thin close to 5 stars. I think eventually the 5 stars will probably trickle into the 30s for us. It's not going to happen right now. We're going to wait a little bit. We're going to do some summer evaluations, and probably expand maybe our 5 stars before the season. And certainly we will do so during the season. So but for now, I think we're gonna stick with the high 4 stars on this next 10. But a lot of Ohio State flavor here in terms of some interesting targets, some interesting names to know. But we'll start it off with kind of a former target who I actually think they'll still keep an eye on just to see if they can get a visit later on. But coming in at number 40 is Jalen Walker, linebacker, Salisbury, North Carolina. Was never expected to go to Ohio State, although I think he was as much at the top of their wish list as anyone really. But I think people thought they would lose him to Clemson. They end up losing him to Georgia instead, which leads a lot of people to believe that maybe there will be some visits in the fall. But, first of all, Bill, he's coming in at 40. He's not far out of the 5-star range. What makes Jalen Walker, one of our top-rated linebackers?
Yeah, he's athletic. He's physical. He's 6'2". He's 220. I mean, why not? The question probably is, why is he 40? But somebody has to be 40. They can't all be, in another year, this is the top 20 guy probably. And he may be when we shake things out after summer and see him in the fall. I mean, this kid's really special. I can see why he was the top of the board guy for Ohio State. I mean, I would take this guy in a minute. I would love to have this guy on my team. There's nothing not to like about him. I mean, he fits, with Georgia for sure. And I could see him, if he goes there and stays there, I could see him playing early for them. I mean, there was no weakness that I could see on this guy.
I love Jalen Walker, and he's ranked very highly among our linebackers. There are not many linebackers ahead of him, these next 39. So he's way up there on the linebacker list for us. This might have been me again. This may be a little bit of a position value thing for me. If it's even what I'll take the edge rusher, I'll take the quarterback, I'll take the offensive tackle, even the defensive tackle. I think maybe position value. But I think he's an elite linebacker. I think he can play any linebacker. The beauty of Jalen Walker is I think he can play anywhere.
Yeah.
I think in today's game, you can play him at Mike, but I think you can play him outside too. I think he's got the measurables and the talent and the athleticism to play anywhere. So I really like Jalen as well. And yeah, I mean, it sounds like he's definitely on that 5-star fringe. We're not far away from where the dust is going to settle with the 5 stars. So he would be certainly one to watch. Definitely, I think for my money, the closest non-5-star linebacker to becoming a 5-star linebacker for us at this point. So he's going to be definitely one we'll keep an eye on. Another guy I really like, and again, maybe my position value issues are coming through here. But number 39, we've got running back Jaden Blue out of Houston, Texas. He's committed to Texas. I think he's a phenomenal running back prospect. I just generally shy away from running backs, in the top 10 or 15 in the country. So we've got him here at 39, just outside of, 5-star territory. I think he's certainly in the discussion for the best running back in the country. I think there's not many holes when I watch him.
Yeah, I agree. The speed, I think, is good enough. The shuttle time's excellent. The broad jump's elite. So measurables are good. And I don't like measurables for running backs, to be honest with you. I think that's the one position you got to be producing on the field as a high school player, and he does. And that's against big-time competition he's going against, too. So I like him a lot. He's a producer, and he's playing high-level competition. So once you see that, then you go to the measurables. I should probably not went to the measurables first, because that's not how I judge them, the running backs. You can look like a Greek god, and if you miss 5 games a year, and if you're not producing, then those measurables don't help. This guy's a producer and he has the measurables. So I can see why Texas wants him, and I think he'll be a heck of a college player.
Yeah, I don't get caught up in the 40 time stuff.
Right.
Not as an example. Yeah, like last year I loved, and I still do. I think I'm going to end up. I feel very good about this one. I was a huge Corey Kiner guy. Corey Kiner's not a 4.4 40 guy. I think Corey's going to be an unbelievable player at LSU. We'll see. He's there now, so we'll see how his career unfolds. But I watch feet and I watch vision, and you got, and if you're going to go measurable, I think again shuttle a little bit. Your lateral quickness, you got to be able to cut, and broad jump. I actually think is a decent one because you are looking for explosion, and I think that's important. Even if you're 4.6, if you're getting to 4.6 like that, then I think you're fine. So I really like Jaden Blue. I think he's right there in the discussion as the best running back in the country in this class. I don't know that it's a running back class that, is a generational running back class or anything like that. I'm not really seeing, a Najee Harris,
right.
Leonard Fournette when he was coming out of Joe Mixon. That I don't know that we're seeing that type of just unbelievable freak show running back, even like a Bijan Robinson, even a couple of years ago. But there's a lot of good ones, and I think Jaden's definitely in that discussion for the top guy.
Yep.
Number 38, prime Ohio State target. 4-star safety Xavier Nwankpa out of the state of Iowa. Bill, first of all, we'll get into the recruiting stuff here. I think there's probably a lot to talk about on that one, actually. But, what do you see out of him? We've got him here, obviously, in the top 40. So feeling very good about his ability as a safety.
Yeah, I love the kid and have ever since I first came across him a while ago. For Ohio State guys that, watching this, I mean, is he Malik Hooker? He might be. He's that type of athlete. And Malik was so raw as a high school player. Xavier would be ahead of that. Or if he's not Malik Hooker, and who is, then you drop back and say, okay, well, he's a very athletic Jordan Fuller. Mm-hmm. And who the heck wouldn't take one of those? You know what I mean? I love the kid. I mean, I think he's going to be a great safety in college. He fits the Ohio State single high scheme so well. I mean, like a glove, would he fit that thing? So, and I think they're the team to beat. I can't remember my last best guess list, if I had him in or like right there. And that's how I see it. I think they're the favorite. I think they're going to get him. And I think he's going to be a great player in college. So this one is someone I'm very, very high on.
Yeah, I think you nailed it with the full. I think you take everything you would like about Jordan Fuller and you put that in a better athlete's body, and you get Xavier Nwankpa, which should get people really excited, especially after the rookie year Jordan Fuller had with the Rams.
Right.
I think he's smart. He's instinctual. He's athletic. He's got size. He really is almost a prototype safety. I think now they just took Kai Stokes here, this past week after like a 6-day courtship or whatever it was,
Right.
Now we know they have room for safeties, so we shouldn't go crazy that they just took a guy that, they're not going to get anybody else because they took this kid and it was a panic. But, do you think this maybe says something, maybe if not about Nwankpa, but maybe about some of the other safeties they're recruiting? Or do you just think that they just loved Stokes so much that it didn't matter how they look with these other guys, they are going to take this kid? Kind of how do you view this? And, should we read anything into this with some of the other safeties they're recruiting?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, would they take 3? They might. You know what I mean? They might. And, I don't think this affects Nwankpa, but, I don't think they're the favorite for Brains. So, I didn't know anything about, the Stokes thing came out of left field to me, and I think to everybody, and maybe they offered him, and Maybe they never thought he would commit this soon. And then it was like, holy crap, he wants to commit. What do we do?
Yeah.
Well, shoot, take him. He can play. Might have been one of those things. I don't know. I don't think Stokes has any bearing on Nwampa. I don't think at all.
I think it probably says more about Branch.
Yeah.
I think the dream scenario of Branch Nwampa is, I don't want to say it's dead. They're both scheduled to visit in June, but I think that's a long shot. I think it's probably always been a long shot. I like where they're at with Nwampa. I think it's a little interesting. He shows up at Iowa spring game. Notre Dame's in there, LSU. I mean, there's a lot of teams recruiting him. I think they've got as good of a chance as anyone. If I'm kind of taking the coward's way out here, but I think they've got about as good of a shot as anyone. But I do think there's work left to do there, and I think taking Stokes now makes some sense, because if you're not leading for Branch, and God forbid something happens with Nwampa, and you held off Stokes and that ticked him off and he committed to Alabama or Clemson or Notre Dame or something, you could be in a world of hurt in July and August. And, I don't think we view safety as a premium position, but God, they need safeties in this class. They need safeties.
Maybe we should, after watching last year, then maybe you start thinking, I think safety is a premium position.
Yeah.
When you watch it played not well, then you wish you had somebody that played it well.
Yeah. If I were them, I would be fishing with dynamite here at safety in this class. I'd just be gobbling up as many safeties as I could.
Yeah, I would go 3 if I had to. The right 3.
Yeah.
If Nwampa and Branch 1 and 2, I'm not turning them away, and I'm not kicking this Stokes out. So give me all 3.
Yeah, I think that's probably how they have to approach it. So we'll see. I think June's going to tell us a lot about safeties. They got Branch, Nwampa, Kamari Ramsey are all scheduled to visit. So I think we're going to know a lot about safety recruiting.
And see, Ramsey is kind of like my long shot dude that I've loved all along. So when I saw Stokes commit, I kind of thought, well, that takes care of Ramsey for me. But we'll see. Long way to go here. And
maybe it's Ramsey, Nwampa, Stokes. I mean, maybe Branch just stays out west and they just take all 3 of those guys. And
because I love Ramsey. I think Ramsey is one of the more underrated DBs in America. So we'll see. Like I said, I'd rather have too many guys than this is a good position to be in.
Yeah, but I don't know that this is a stone cold lock projection or anything like that. But could Ramsey even if you took Nwampa and Stokes, couldn't Ramsey maybe be Pete Werner? I mean, I don't think it's that far out of the question. I mean, he's a solid kid. Pete Werner played a lot of defensive back in high school. I was at a game and Pete Werner was playing corner. So I don't know. I think you could make that work.
Players. Yeah. Give me great football players and I'll figure it out.
Yeah. This is a guy who's, he's been on the Ohio State radar. I kind of laughed this one off early, and I think that's played out the way I kind of thought it would. But defensive tackle Curtis Perry, Montgomery, Alabama, offered early by Ohio State, had him on top school list, talking up the Buckeyes a little bit. I'm going to have to see it to believe it when Ohio State lands a kid from Montgomery, Alabama. That's not like an Ohio transplant, whose parents had to move because of a job or something. He's going to one of the Alabama schools. He's going to Alabama or Auburn, in my opinion. But definitely a freakishly athletic, quick tackle. Bill, your thoughts on Perry?
Yeah, not the typical Alabama D tackle guy. We're used to those monsters, those houses. He's not that, but a 6'3" guy, 270, a blur coming off the ball. And in their 3-4, he fits as a 3-4 DN perfectly. Maybe he does get big when you move him inside, but I love the quickness off the ball. And my feeling is if Alabama wants this kid, and I think they do, then they're going to get him. So, I see Ohio State with a no % chance here. He's not coming to Ohio State. So, but he's a heck of a player.
Yeah, he's a great player. I've just never really, maybe I'm not doing my job properly, but I've just never really acknowledged him. Like, even though he's listed Ohio State a few times, and like, if you ask him about Ohio State, he'll give you like a great quote about the Buckeyes, but like, I just haven't even like acknowledged that he's in play. So I could look really dumb, I guess, in a few months, but I don't think so. I think he's staying down south. Next guy on the list is a really interesting one, and I think someone who's become maybe even a little bit more important, given some recent developments. Coming in at number 36, Tyler Booker, offensive tackle, IMG Academy, from the northeast part of the country originally. So he's not an SEC territory guy, but he sure has a lot of SEC schools on his list.
Yeah.
Bill, first of all, again, Booker's another one. Some people maybe think he could be a 5-star. I think there's people, we probably have him higher than most people actually, in this territory. Do we have him a little bit too high, or, your thoughts on kind of the ranking here? Cause I think we are a little higher than most.
No, I like him where he is. And I've seen him, and I know you've seen him in person.
I have seen him.
I saw him last year at the Under Armour camp. He was in a group with JC Latham. He wasn't much different than JC Latham, maybe a little bit less experienced, but in terms of raw skill, Booker was right there with Latham, so what I'm hearing, and this guy, 6'5", 325, this is another one of those offensive tackles that there are a lot of them in this class that are really special. This guy could be a first-round pick in 4 or 5 years, okay? What I'm hearing, man, is that the Gators love where they're sitting right now. They really like where they're positioned for Tyler Booker. So we'll see. Another guy that I think the visits will tell the tale. Got to get him on campus, go from there. I think he could call probably any school in the country tonight and they would take him. I mean, I love the kid. And, like I said, I saw him in a group with Latham last year, and he fit perfectly with JC Latham. So I would take him in a minute. Would love to coach the guy. I'd love to have him on my team.
Yeah, his list is pretty SEC heavy, actually. And so, you wonder if being down at IMG for a while, he likes the Florida weather. He kind of likes it down there. Maybe he wants to stay down there. Gainesville isn't that far away.
Not at all.
Not at all. So that could be a big hurdle. I definitely agree with you that Florida has made a nice move here this spring. I've always maintained that Ohio State's been in better shape for him than people initially thought. I don't think, if you rewind things maybe 3 or 4 months ago, I don't know that most people would have expected Ohio State to be in his top 5. I've always kind of felt they were right there, but I don't know that they're the team right now. I think, I look at Florida for sure. And well, we can have the offensive line recruiting discussion here, maybe after this next guy.
Keep it going.
Right next to Tyler Booker, number 35, Keontae Goodwin, offensive tackle, Charlestown, Indiana, high 4-star. This is a kid who, for my money, if he shows up this fall and does what I think he's going to do, I'll probably push for him to be a 5-star. I think he's a 5-star talent. I just, we're not too far removed from the body transformation, and he's, still picking things up. So I kind of want to see just another year of good tape. But obviously this one stings for Ohio State. They looked like they were going to get him. Then Kentucky, was this, did they out recruit Ohio State? Did they get lucky with the shutdown? Bill, your thoughts on kind of how that all played out?
Yeah. From a recruiting standpoint, I mean, I think people are stunned when they don't know that Kentucky had a great offensive line last year. I mean, they were as good as Ohio State, if not better than Ohio State. They just don't have any depth on the O-line. So if a guy gets hurt, they're done. Their starting 5 are really good. Yeah. They have no skill. They have no quarterback, but that starting 5 O-line, just as good as Ohio State's. And then you look at Eric Wolford, who's one of the best O-line coaches in America. Has had success all over the place. And he is an amazing recruiter. He was a head coach at YSU for a while, been in South Carolina, Illinois. the guy's special. He's a great O-line coach. He's an Ohio guy. So, I thought Goodwin was Ohio State's all the way. This one hurts. Are they done? Are they over? I don't think, I think he will visit, but I think he's going to be tough to pry out of Kentucky. I know Kentucky feels really good about where they stand with Keontae Goodwin. So, but you fight it out for Goodwin. You fight it out for Booker until the death, and there's so many great offensive tackles out there. You got to get one of them. They're not going to get Zach Rice. So one of these two, I think Ohio State really needs to pull.
Yeah, and I would stay on this one because
I would too.
I do think he's got a little bit of an itch to take visits. And on top of that, it's, if this would be a little different for me, if he was from Texas or Florida or California, he lives maybe 3 to 3.5. I mean, at most 3.5 hours from Ohio State's campus. You could get him up a few times. I mean,
right. Right.
It's a tank of gas to get to Columbus from Louisville. That's all it is. So you can play that, drive up this weekend, come watch our game, come hang out with Paris Johnson for the, you can play that card with him and it's feasible. It can be done. He does, he doesn't have to buy a plane ticket every time he wants to go visit Ohio State. So I think you have to keep on this one. I do think the shutdown hurt them here. Just something clicked in his head that he wanted to commit and he wasn't going to commit to anyone he hadn't visited yet. If he hadn't made a real visit to that school, he wasn't going to do it. And so Kentucky was the only school that he was really comfortable with in that vein. And so he picks them. But I think, the mindset, I think people need to kind of try and wrap their brain around this a little bit with the mindset of, well, how could Ohio State lose an offensive lineman in Kentucky? And I said this on our board a few weeks ago. I said,
they've lost a few.
They've lost several. They've lost more offensive linemen at Kentucky than they've lost to Alabama the last 6 years.
John Young,
Landon Young,
Jagger Burton.
That's 4 guys. They haven't lost 4 offensive linemen head-to-head to Alabama.
What about
everyone remembers Latham?
Did they recruit the center?
Yeah, I mean, yes, they did.
I don't know if they would. They kind of were hanging.
They did, but that wasn't like your classic, like Ohio State, Kentucky. Like there were other schools there, so I don't really consider that one like in the same vein. But like, how many head-to-heads have they lost with Alabama? I mean, everyone remembers Latham, and like that one stings, and they all they remember that one. But like,
they beat him on Isaiah Prince. They beat
They beat exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Kentucky does. Kentucky is the sneakiest sleeper O-line school in America. And everybody laughs, and if you mention that to people, they just laugh. They can't stop laughing that Kentucky can line up with Ohio State. Last year's Kentucky O-line, and Ohio State had a darn good O-line last year. Kentucky was just as good.
And
as good.
They out-evaluated them on Darian Kennard.
Oh, absolutely.
So this has actually kind of been a little thorn in their side the last 5 years. This isn't a one-off where they lost a kid to the, this has happened more than you would think, more than it's happened. I would say the only other school that they've lost more head-to-head battles on offensive linemen for is Notre Dame. I think that's the only one.
No, Kentucky is right there.
I think Notre Dame and Kentucky are the two that have beat them the most for offensive linemen. It's a bizarre, stat or whatever, but it is. I mean, it's true. So we'll see how this one goes. I do think, like I said, I think we'll continue to watch this one in the fall, and I think it'll get interesting, but we'll see. All right, moving on. Number 34, running back Emanuel Henderson out of Geneva County, Alabama, committed to Alabama. The program just churns out running backs. This looks like another guy. Now he's a little different, I think, though. I don't know that he's not like Bo Scarborough, Derrick Henry, Najee Harris. He's got a little more juice to him, I think.
He does. He's more Brian Robinson, maybe.
Yeah.
That type. Maybe he's their number 2 back, which is unbelievable. You'd have this guy as a 2. Who knows who else they take in this class if they do take another one. But I mean, this he's a cutback vision guy, explosive guy, more than a burner or a 230-pound monster like Najee or Derrick Henry. So he's kind of Brian Robinson-ish. And I think Brian Robinson's a heck of a player too.
Yeah.
So, this guy fits, man. He fits. I'd love to have him on my team.
Yeah, great player. Not much else to add there. He's a great running back. Definitely one of the top, couple guys in the class nationally. Alabama does it again at running back. It's just it's what they do. So interesting guy here. Again, we haven't talked about any yet in this episode, so we had to get there eventually. We've got another corner out of Tulsa, Booker T. Washington, powerhouse program. I was actually able to visit that school a couple years ago. Unbelievable program. Gentry Williams. Consensus would be, I think, that he's probably going to end up at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But again, we're talking about another 6 foot plus corner. And I know, God, I hate to keep saying things that might inflame the Ohio State fan base, but Oklahoma's defense got a lot better last year. I don't think they're
much better.
I don't think they're where, they need to be to really, beat the Alabamas of the world yet, but big improvement. They get kids like this. I mean, we'll see. But your thoughts on Gentry Williams?
Yeah. An athlete, and you probably recruit him as an athlete, but in your mind, he's playing corner. I think he could probably be a Mecole Hardman type, but I mean, I look at this guy and I look at those track times, the hurdle times, and you can't be an elite hurdler without hips. So when I see an elite hurdler, I want him playing corner, because right now I know he can change direction. I know he can stick that foot in the ground and go east when I had him going west. So when I see hurdler, I think corner. Now you might recruit him as, we could play you anywhere. And then the first day he gets there, you tell him, go with them guys over there with the DB coach. So Gentry Williams is really an elite athlete, and it won't surprise me if he's a first round draft pick as a corner, in 3 or 4 years. So pretty special guy.
There's like 15 corners in this class. So if you told me they'd be first round draft picks in the next 4 years, I'd be like, yeah. Okay.
Well, I think the way the game has changed, going to more of the spread offense, 4 receivers on the field, I think a lot of guys finally wised up to something we've been talking about for 5 years. When we see these wide receivers, we instantly think corner for most of them. And now I think that kind of thought process has caught up to the game. Where Gentry Williams is a wideout is probably pretty good. Marshawn Lattimore is a wideout is probably an NFL wideout maybe. But Marshawn Lattimore is a corner, is a multimillionaire. And I think these kids are finally seeing that. Gary and Conley thought he was a wideout. And it's like, yeah, you're okay as a wideout. You can play. Corner, you're a first round pick, you're a millionaire. So that's where I see Gentry Williams. Forget the wide receiver, get on the corner. Let those hips and length make you a first round pick.
Yeah, I don't know what triggered it. I'm glad the switch went on. It was always a thing of I want the ball in my hands. That was always the thing is they want to score touchdowns. And at some point there's been a mindset shift for the better on this, that it's not as important to these guys to have the football and to score touchdowns. And so I don't really know if I have a great explanation for it, other than maybe some of these Marshawn Lattimores having the success that they've been having, maybe opening some eyes to that, and just the type of money that is being doled out to cornerbacks right now, and the amount of corners we're seeing drafted in the first round. I mean, maybe that's just all there is to it. And that's been enough to change the mindset, but it's been kind of cool to see that, because we struggled with that for years. I want to have the ball in my hands. It's like, well, I'd rather be a millionaire, but
no doubt.
All right. No, again, another position we've talked a lot about in terms of just great players, great offensive line class. Will Campbell committed to LSU from Monroe, Louisiana. Another guy who probably is right there in 5-star territory. Could be a 5-star at some point down the road. Great early pickup for LSU. That was a lock. The big lineman from Monroe, Louisiana is going to LSU. So your thoughts on Campbell, and kind of, could he maybe be a 5-star in a few months?
Yeah, right there with Booker, Goodwin. I mean, another elite offensive tackle. I think he's stronger right now in pass protection than he is as a run blocker. He's 6'6", like 290, and he looks like a basketball player. But he's going to fill out, and he's going to be Taylor Decker, and going to play early there. I mean, I love the footwork. I mean, there's nothing not to like with this guy. You know what I mean? He's another one of these impressive 6'5", 6'6", long arm tackles, and they're out there this year. This is a great year to get stud O tackle, just like corner, just like DN. So, but there was no chance for anyone to beat LSU for this kid.
No. Yeah, that was a pretty uneventful recruitment.
Yeah.
And kind of another one here to wrap this up. We're down to 31. Kind of another uneventful recruitment. Dayon Bowie, defensive back, athlete, corner, Bainbridge, Georgia, committed to Georgia. What we're gonna say? What else can we? What other things can we talk about here? He's a big corner with athleticism and length and range, and anything else to add here that we haven't talked about these.
Now this one, maybe he is Mecole Hardman.
Yeah.
And maybe this kid is an offensive player as they're changing their offense now, and they need more dynamic playmakers, on the outside. I mean, I think he'd be an amazing return guy. Bowie might be a wide receiver, although I think he could be an amazing corner. So we'll see on him, but this guy might be the next Mecole Hardman for them. And I could see this one maybe staying on offense. So we'll see there. I like everything about this guy.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia's doing such a good job right now on defense that something may have to give there. It may actually be okay for them. Like, I think most schools will be like dying to have a corner like that. Well, Georgia may have an abundance of some of these guys. And, someone like Bowie can play offense there. And certainly they're going to need some weapons moving forward. I know they're going to be, kind of turning over that room a little bit here in the next year or two, losing some guys to the NFL. So there may be an opportunity there. All right. We are going to, that's going to wrap it up for this episode, but we are going to get to the first 5 stars at the next episode. So we're going to cross the threshold from 4 to 5 at some point during the next episode. If you want to see our whole list, it's in the description box if you're watching on YouTube. Otherwise, you can go to BuckeyScoop.com, click on rankings on the left menu bar, and 2022 Scoop 100. That will give you the most up-to-date list that we've released so far as we count down to 1. But again, thanks everyone who's been tuning into for these. And like I said, we'll get to the 5 stars next episode. Thanks again.